Hello, welcome to this edition of Momentum. I'm your host, Robert Green. We're happy today to have with us Dr. William R. Fox. Dr. Fox is Dean Emeritus of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences and Professor Emeritus of the Department of Agriculture and Biological Engineering. Dr. Fox, welcome. Glad to have you here today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Dean.
Yeah. So I enjoyed your talk that you gave a while back to the Agriculture and Biological Engineering Department. Could you tell us a little bit about how you came to be at Mississippi State and came to stay here?
Interesting question. As you know, I'm a native of Sevier County, Tennessee, grew up in the mountains, and we wanted to escape poverty, so we became interested in education, and we chose agricultural engineering at the University of Tennessee. And then I had the encouragement from a major professor to continue at Iowa State University, where I completed a doctorate in engineering, agricultural engineering, and engineering mechanics. In 1962, Mary and I, my wife is also a Sevier County native, we had an opportunity to go to 5 different SEC universities. And one of those was Mississippi State University. And we decided that Mississippi State was the place that we should be. When we came here for interview, and when we moved in the summer of '62, we discovered excellent facilities, a very progressive administrative leadership, competent faculty and staff, and students who were curious, intelligent, and hardworking. And I said, Mary, this is where we ought to be. So we came to Mississippi State in 1962 as a young assistant professor of agricultural engineering.
Well, we're certainly glad you did, and I've enjoyed having you here, and I think we still have some of those students still around, although not quite as old, but still the same attitude. Since coming here, and since being in the engineering profession, we've seen a lot happen. We've gone from Sputnik to moon landings and space shuttles, from slide rules to calculators to mainframes to laptops. What are some of the most important changes that I think you've seen in your career in the engineering education?
Well, first of all, I really believe engineering education is one of the premier educational programs for any person who wants to pursue a lifetime of happiness. The interest that I had, and what I've really discovered since we came to Mississippi State, in those days it was a badge of honor to walk around campus with a slide rule hanging from your belt. And we moved from that to calculators, to programmable computers. But there is a difference. The slide rule, one had to be able to use that tool as a computational device. Once we moved to computers, it changed the structure of our nature. We had to manage that tool in order to achieve computations. And being able to make succinct, distinct computation is critical to the work of an engineer.
I would agree with that.
Yes.
So while you were here, though, like I said, you started as an assistant professor, retired as dean, held a lot of positions in between. Was one more exciting or more rewarding than the other? I know you enjoyed them all.
You know, you asked me that question earlier, and the best answer I can give you is I found exciting opportunities at each crossroad. You know, the human being pursues knowledge, pursues work, and they're sort of like a chicken. They reach a period of time in which you have to recharge or have a new direction. We tend to reach a level of effectiveness that I refer to in an asymptotic way. In order to breach that gap or achieve another level, there has to be some significant event that occurs in your life. And that's the reason we have a sabbatical program in universities. About every 7 years, it's important that each person have an opportunity to restructure and regrowth and go to a new opportunity. And reflecting over the past 60 years, I've discovered about every 6 or 7 years, some significant event occurred which put me on another path, which was that external forcing function in order to keep us in an effective manner. So I enjoyed every one of them. But central to all of that was the learner, the student. In the university, Bob, as you know, we have faculty and we have students. Sometimes we call them teachers and learners. And most of the time, the faculty member is a teacher. Most of the time, the student is the learner. But a very effective faculty and a very effective student will reverse those roles. A faculty member who does not learn from their students is going to be ineffective in the long run. And a student who fails to respond by giving back with instruction and development is also violating. So faculty and students are the most significant thing that we have in the university. Right. And central to all of those roles that I was able to play at this campus, the student was central in all of that. Yeah. But the faculty was also central.
That's very good. In your previous talk, you spent some time talking about diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, and the role you took in helping do that. And of course, I mean, even today, we're still struggling to make engineering a more diverse profession. Tell us about the importance of diversity to you and sort of where you see this going in terms of the engineering profession.
Well, let's back up just a little bit. Let me give you a little historical statement for you and our viewers. The program that I'm in, still am, started in rural engineering, actually in engineering in 1899 and 1900. The first professor of rural engineering was Jesse W. Fox. By the way, that was not my brother. Okay, but Jesse Fox. But when the College of Agriculture was formed in 1903, the program was moved to the College of Ag as the Department of Agricultural Engineering, with Professor Fox as the first department head. It remained there until 1953. And in 1953, everyone became aware that if we're going to be really successful as an agricultural engineer, we needed to have an accredited program. But in order to have accreditation, in those days, Engineers Council for Professional Development, the program had to be in the College of Engineering. We had great leaders in those days. We still have great leaders. But they recognized that we needed to create an opportunity for a department that would be jointly administered by the College of Engineering and the College of Agriculture. At the same time, I think Professor Howell, who was the department head at that time, Claiborne Howell, and his faculty recognized they needed a program in agriculture. So they created a program called Farm Equipment Management and Sales. It was to serve the ag industry. In those days, mechanized agriculture was just coming into being. So they created that, and the first curriculum in ag engineering was in 1953 and was accredited. Fast forward to 1967, when I had an opportunity, was invited to become the department head. We discovered that enrollments in agricultural engineering, just like most curricula, whose modifier is an industry, ag engineering, forest engineering, petroleum engineering, were limited because they were driven by industry rather than a discipline. So we discovered that it seemed to be the best thing to do was to create a new program. And we came up with the idea that biological engineering, which was the overall arch of agricultural engineering, bioenvironmental engineering, biomedical engineering, sanitary engineering, all of those life science-oriented programs would be the appropriate curriculum. So we developed a new curriculum in biological engineering, and I'm pleased to say that Mississippi State had the first accredited curriculum in biological engineering in 1972. Now, I will admit to you, the reason we were first, because Mississippi State becomes before Rensselaer. And both programs were accredited that year. But we make the claim that it was the first curriculum. And so it embarked on a new dimension. What it did was open opportunities for people, regardless of their gender, regardless of their social status, regardless of their national origin, here was a curriculum, here was a program that would be acceptable and suitable to them. And if you look at the population of our state, half of them are female. 40% of our population ancestors came from Africa. So we said, this gives us an opportunity to create a more inclusive place for every person have an opportunity to excel, regardless of gender, social status, or national origin. And the next thing you know, we have women enrolling in the program. We have students from major backgrounds, Asia, other. And now it's pleasing to note we had 12 students in 1967. I think the current enrollment is over 500. And we still maintain the curriculum in those colleges. Let me just backtrack a minute. The success of this program was due to the kind of leadership that we had in engineering and agriculture. Dean Harris Imrall, Dean Charles Lindley, they were big people. They never got into scraps about who these students belonged to. They knew that what we were doing was important. And someone said, how did you manage having so many, quote, bosses? And it's true. The department head of Agriculture and Biological Engineering has responsibility to the director of the Agricultural Forestry Experiment Station, to the Cooperative Extension Service, to the Dean of Agriculture and Life Sciences, to the Dean of the Bagley College of Engineering. How do you do that? What we discovered is to involve those leaders in all of the programs. Yeah. So that everything we did, regardless of which function, we made sure that each of them were informed. And I can tell you, we never had an interference from any of those leaders. And the same thing exists today as I observe the current department. We've got leadership, excellent leadership with Dr. Thomason, Dean Keith, Dean Willard, yeah. And Director Jackson was yeah. The former Director of Extension.
Right. Well, Dr. Fox, it's been a pleasure having you here today, and there's certainly more we can talk about, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to do that. I want to thank you all for joining us on this edition of Momentum and look forward to seeing you again next month.